The President. Questions. Question 1, Mr. Stanley NG. There are views that the first Hong Kong Intangible Cultural Heritage ICH Month held last month enabled members of the public and tourists to experience the vitality and charm of Hong Kong's ICH, and that transmitting ICH skills and the economic benefits brought about by the related cultural and creative intellectual property rights IP are conducive to the sustainable development of Hong Kong's ICH. In this connection, will the government inform this council? 1. Of the number of participants or visitors to the various activities of the first Hong Kong ICH Month and the proportion of travelers among them, whether an assessment has been conducted on the effectiveness of Hong Kong ICH Month. 2. As it has been reported that the government will announce a system for designating Hong Kong ICH bearers this year, whether the system will cover designation for both categories of bearer and bearer organization, whether a mechanism will be established to revoke the status of bearers, ensuring that ICH remains vibrant and relevant over time, as well as maintaining the vitality of the transmission system and the enthusiasm of bearers. If so, of the details, if not, the reasons for that. And 3. As it is learned that the rapid development of IP of ICH in the mainland has generated considerable economic benefits of the mechanism put in place by the government to regularly follow up on, incubate, support, protect, and compile statistics on cultural and creative IP projects derived from Hong Kong's ICH, so that they can sustainably create cultural values and economic benefits. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism. President. ICH is an essential part of the fine traditional Chinese culture and a lively witness to the continuous transmission of Chinese culture. The Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau (CSTB) and the Leisure and Cultural Services Department (LCSD) are committed to safeguarding, transmitting, and promoting the ICH of Hong Kong, while actively supporting the national policies on furthering the safeguarding of ICH and implementing enhanced measures, targeting ICH items across various domains. Different aspects of work, such as identification, documentation, research, preservation, promotion, and transmission of ICH, are strengthened to enhance the public's understanding of ICH and engage the community in safeguarding ICH. The above work include ICH funding scheme of the LCSD, which supports eligible local organizations and individuals implementing meaningful local ICH projects. In addition, the LCSD released in December 2024 the updated representative list of the ICH of Hong Kong representative list in short, with an increase in its number of items from 20 to 24, and the updated ICH inventory of Hong Kong with an increase in its number of items from 480 to 507. The 2024 policy address proposed 2 measures to promote the safeguarding and transmission of ICH, whereby the ICSD will develop a mechanism and criteria in 2025 for recognizing the bearers of the items on the representative list, as well as organize the Hong Kong ICH Month in June every year. In response to Mr. Ng's 3-part questions, my replies are as follows. 1. The inaugural Hong Kong ICH Month was successfully held from 31st of May to 1st of June 2025. Activities included over 80 ICH performances, 60 interactive experiential booths on ICH, and 24 field trips under ICH highlight tours, covering more than 100 ICH items. By invitation of the LCSD, over 20 communications organizations or community organizations participated in organizing activities during the Hong Kong ICH Month so as to expand the coverage of the event and extend its reach in the community. With the attendance of the activities of the inaugural Hong Kong ICH Month already surpassing 85,000 as at 21st of June 2025, the final attendance of the event is estimated to be more than 100,000. Despite the unavailability of figures on the percentage of visitors, since the tourist-filled piazza of the Hong Kong Cultural Center was chosen as the venue of the opening ceremony, and the ensuing ICH Carnival of the inaugural Hong Kong ICH Month, and both activities fell on the mainland's long weekend holiday in celebration of Tung Festival, many visitors were attracted to the ICH Carnival. Among others, around 1/3 of the ICH highlight tours quotas were given to visitors, and their feedback was very positive. The LCSD will continue to make efforts in this area in the future to enhance the integration of culture and tourism. A breakdown of the attendance of the Hong Kong ICH Month 2025 by activities set out at Annex. The inaugural Hong Kong ICH Month successfully enriched the public's understanding of the ICH items of both Hong Kong and the mainland through collaboration between the government and community organizations, as well as the active participation of local and mainland ICH organizations and practitioners. The public and visitors were provided with the experience of ICH around town. 2. The LCSD has studied the national guidelines for recognition and management of ICH bearers. It has also completed its collection and gained insight into relevant information on the planning, formulation, and implementation of the mechanism for recognizing ICH bearers or bearers organizations, the management system, and the cancellation mechanism for the recognized ICH bearers or bearers organizations, etc. in Guangdong Province, Macau, and other neighboring regions. Currently, national guidelines include a cancellation mechanism, while Guangdong and Macau also have their own relevant cancellation mechanisms. The LCSD will take into account the aforementioned information and consider the current transmission of Hong Kong's ICH to prepare a proposal that's in accord with the actual circumstances of Hong Kong. The proposal will cover requirements for applications for the status of ICH bearer or bearer organization to follow the mechanism and criteria for recognition, as well as cancellation mechanism where applicable. The LCSD will consult the ICH Advisory Committee on the proposal to ensure that a set of stringent recognition mechanism and criteria suitable for Hong Kong is formulated to effectively recognize high-quality bearers or bearer organizations that are committed to transmitting ICH, thereby enhancing the protection and transmission of Hong Kong's ICH. The mechanism and criteria are expected to be promulgated within this year. 3. As regards intellectual property IP based on ICH, the ICH office has actively assisted cultural and creative industry brands in Hong Kong in launching creative cultural merchandise in the recent years. For example, as cooperated with a local fashion brand since 2024 to present Hong Kong's ICH elements in novel way to bring fashion lovers a series of new styles, cheongsams that revitalize traditions and clothing created with ICH elements. In addition to a publicity and promotional campaign launched in Hong Kong, fashion shows were organized in places outside of Hong Kong, such as London, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, to showcase Hong Kong's ICH. The ICH office will continue to provide information on ICH for suitable cultural and creative industry brands to assist them in transforming ICH into value-added cultural products through revitalization. Furthermore, the Cultural and Creative Industries Development Agency under the CSTB, through the Creative Smart initiative, provides funding support and drives to foster cross-sectoral collaboration between local cultural and creative industries and ICH bearers, promote Hong Kong's ICH at cultural and creative exhibitions and events staged in Hong Kong, the mainland, and overseas, and support Hong Kong designers to create cultural and creative products themed on ICH. These collaborations promote the ICH of Hong Kong as well as facilitate the development of cultural and creative sectors as industries. Examples include Palace Museum collections, and Hong Kong Intangible Cultural Heritage Exhibition held during the Shenzhen Greeting Month in November 2024 and the Hong Kong Reading Week in April 2025. The Hong Kong Pavilion themed Strolling Through Hong Kong Intangible Cultural Heritage and Urban Memories set up at Beijing International Book Fair in June 2025, and the Hong Kong's ICH themed New Art Toy created by Hong Kong original art toy designers to be showcased in the Hong Kong Art Toy Story 2025 at Kuala Lumpur in November 2025. Thank you, President. Mr. Stanley. I thank the Undersecretary for his detailed reply. The administration said that they are going to promulgate the criteria for recognition of ICH bearers or bearer organizations. ICH is not something that is shown in museum as objects or items. It has to be vitalized and transmitted. So I wonder if the administration will provide for a recognition mechanism and criteria for such transmission. And will there be a licensing regime for that? And I wonder if the administration will relax the requirements of transmission of licensing so that ICH can be transmitted. Undersecretary. Thank you, President. As mentioned in the main reply, we will make reference to the national guidelines for the recognition and management of ICH bearers. We will also study the relevant guidelines in the neighboring regions to formulate one that is suitable to Hong Kong. We're going to consult the ICH Advisory Committee very soon. With their comment, we will promulgate the relevant mechanism and criteria within this year. We have been adopting a multi-pronged approach. We have an ICH school project. We also have a ICH vehicles that go to different districts to showcase our ICH elements and stage ICH performances. These are our new projects. The ICH month in June is a new project proposed in the policy address. Thank you. Mr. Lau Chi-Pan, thank you. I have to declare interest. I am a partner of the Hong Kong ICH month. I'd like to congratulate the CSTB for the successful ICH month that they organized this year. We are the only city that has ICH month in June in our country. We received many positive feedbacks from the sector. Because June is the low season for the tourism industry, with the ICH month being held in June, it actually vitalized the relevant industry. Clothing, food, transport are ICH. Many local delicacies are considered an ICH item. When we organize ICH Month 2026, will the administration talk to the local F&B and catering industry so that they can roll out ICH delicacies to further enrich the ICH Month next year? Under Secretary. Thank you, President. We'd like to enhance the impact of ICH Month further. As mentioned, we have organized a ICH dinner, which was very popular because during the feast, we incorporated many ICH elements. We've talked to the organization or organizers of the feast. They said that we should promote it to the visitors and travelers as well. So we will definitely step up collaboration with the tourism industry next year so that more visitors will be able to participate. Ms. Lam So-wai. Thank you, President. We have to ensure that our young people and students understand the ICH in Hong Kong. They will be one of our transmitters. The Undersecretary talked about ICH in schools. I wonder how the administration will attract more young people to participate in the transmission and creation of IP for ICH. Will the administration, say, engage influencers and make use of social platforms to engage the young people? Undersecretary, thank you. As mentioned, we've been trying to use different ways to reach out to different groups. We have this ICH in School project. We also have a mobile ICH that goes into various districts to promote ICH. We have been working with the Education Bureau for the ICH month. We've leveraged on the EDB's network. Many students actually participated in the events that we organized during June. Under the ICH Highlight Tours, we have reserved a tour for school teachers so that they can bring the knowledge that they learned during their tours to the students in classrooms. Thank you. Mr. Nga Man-yu. Thank you, President. One of the biggest challenge faced is the lack of successors. Many practitioners are faced with a lack of successors. So I wonder if the administration will set out a list of ICH items where there were not enough successors so that we can target our resources. Undersecretary, thank you. In 2018, thanks to the LegCo's approval, we created a ICH funding scheme that accept applications from ICH bearers and successors. Under the scheme, we are able to promote the ICH and nurture relevant talents. $3,000 million have been dedicated to the fund. We've spent 1,300 millions. We have already organized 7,500 events covering 200 ICH items. Thank you. Mr. Ma Feng-kwok. President, there are 507 items on the ICH inventory of Hong Kong. I'm concerned about culture in Hong Kong, but I'm not that familiar with many of them. Compared to the mainland's efforts in protecting ICH, it seems that we are lagging behind. The administration talked about the transmission scheme for representative list of ICH of Hong Kong. On the mainland, they have ICH centers, hubs in every provinces, and they also have ICH streets across the country. So I wonder if we will learn from the mainland by establishing ICH museum or create a long-standing ICH tourism spots to promote local ICH items. Undersecretary, thank you. We already have an ICH hub in Hong Kong, although it's not that large, but that's a starting point for us. Recently, with the funding approval from the Legislative Council, we are going to create a Chinese culture exhibition hall in the Kowloon Park. As we are expanding our existing museums and developing Northern Metropolis, we will consider introducing more ICH elements, especially in the dedicated hall to showcase our national achievements. We may also introduce ICH elements. Thank you. Mr. Eric Yim. Thank you, President. Most of the Hong Kong ICH are related to Chinese culture. I have a question for the administration. Will we turn the Hong Kong ICH month into Chinese ICH month so that we can invite Chinese and mainland organizations to come to stage performance to nurture a sense of pride in our people? Undersecretary, thank you. We have been working on it. We have worked with different provinces for our Hong Kong ICH month in June. We've worked with Guangxi province. We invited many national transmitters to come to Hong Kong to stage performances. Apart from ICH month, we have also invited many transmitters to come to showcase Chinese ICH in Hong Kong in other times of the year. We also introduced ICH elements into the Hong Kong Week that is staged in Bangkok, Thailand. We have also been working regularly with different mainland provinces. Thank you. Mr. Tang Kapiu. Thank you, President. As mentioned by Mr. Stanley NG, the core element of ICH is culture. It has to do with our lives. It should be transmitted across generations. That's why we must keep up with the times. The secretary just sang a Chinese opera very recently. The East Kowloon Cultural Center is about to be commissioned. So I wonder if we can integrate the East Kowloon Cultural Center with ICH, say for example, Cantonese opera, so that members of the public, visitors can experience these culture, ICH, with technology, because East Kowloon Cultural District is about to be commissioned. This is a great opportunity. Undersecretary. Thank you, President. I thank Mr. Tang for his question. We will make such an attempt. We'd like to introduce ICH elements into different arts and cultural performances, and we'd also like to integrate it with different art technologies. Macau recently staged a performance that I watched. They successfully integrate ICH performance with art tech. We will make reference to their successful examples. Thank you.
Question 2, Mr. Holden CHOW. President, the government indicated in its reply to a question from a member of this council on the 14th of May this year that the Water Intelligence Network, or WIN, implemented by the Water Supplies Department, has completed the establishment of all 2,400 district metering areas, or DMAs, by the end of March this year, to help strengthen the management of leakage in water supply networks. However, it has been reported that incidents of underground water mains bursts still occurred frequently, and multiple incidents of water mains bursts even occurred in Tuen Mun districts within a week in early June this year. In this connection, with the government informed this council, 1. Whether it has examined the reasons for the occurrence of underground water mains burst incidents, one after another, after the completion of the establishment of WIN, and whether it has explored improvement proposals. 2. Whether it has plans to establish more discrete DMAs within the freshwater distribution network in Hong Kong, as well as install more high-tech monitoring and sensing equipment in WIN, so as to identify abnormalities in underground water mains at an early stage and strengthen the effectiveness of monitoring. And 3, of the measures in place to minimize the impacts of large-scale water main burst incidents, including whether consideration has been given to installing backup water supply networks in districts with aging water mains, for example, Tuen Mun districts, so as to minimize the impacts of water outage on local residents and businesses in the event of the occurrence of incidents. Secretary for Development. President, the reply to the questions raised by Mr. Holden CHOW is as follows. 1. The Water Supplies Department, or the WSD, has been striving to enhance the management and maintenance of water mains and has applied new technologies to enhance effective control operation of the water supply networks. Since 2016, the WIN network was completed, and 2,400 DMAs were established by the end of March 2025, covering about 80% of the distribution network to enhance the management of pipe leakage. In 2024, the WSD detected about 1,220 cases of water mains leaks in government's freshwater mains through the WIN, facilitating the department to carry out maintenance works. The leakage rate of water mains has decreased from about 25% in 2000 to about 13.4% last year. However, the DMAs of WIN currently do not cover the freshwater trunk mains, and approximately 20% of the freshwater distribution network. We have to extend its coverage. Additionally, some aged water mains, such as those made of cast iron and asbestos cement, have relatively fragile exteriors and may suddenly burst upon external force impact. Even the water mains laid within the DMAs of the WIN, these bursts cannot be predicted. We need to schedule the replacement of these water mains, taking into account risk factors. 2. The WSD is actively promoting the digitalization of water supply services, formulating and accelerating the implementation of the WIN, and rolling out a series of digital projects and measures in phases. The WSD began expanding the DMAs of the WIN to freshwater trunk mains and the remaining 20% freshwater distribution network at the end of last year. Besides, the WSD has been upgrading sensors for monitoring water flow and pressure to expedite the identification and handling of water mains with potential burst risks. The above WIN expansion and upgrading project is expected to be completed by 2027, and we have requested the WSD to explore the possibility of completing it earlier. In addition, the WSD has been collaborating with local and mainland academic and research institutions to study the application of other advanced technologies, such as sonar surveys and fiber optic technology, to detect pipe leakage early. The WSD will collaborate with the Hong Kong Polytechnic University to establish a joint laboratory of inline robots in August this year to conduct high-precision inspections of water mains. At present, the WSD has mandated the installation of smart water meters in new building projects since 2018. As for existing buildings, the WSD also plans to progressively promote the installation of smart water meters, targeting to regulate water pressure in the water mains according to users' daily living patterns in order to implement dynamic pressure reduction to reduce the risk of water mains burst and leakage. 3. The WSD implemented a territory-wide water mains replacement and rehabilitation program between year 2000 and 2015 to replace and rehabilitate about 3,000 kilometers long aged water mains. Since 2015, the WSD has been establishing the win in phases and formulating and implementing risk-based water mains improvements works under a risk-based asset management program for water mains. From 2015 to March 2025, about 240 kilometers long water mains have been replaced or rehabilitated. The WSD obtained funding approval from the LegCo last year to replace or rehabilitate about 20 kilometers of large steel water mains. These improvement works, including about 4 kilometers in Chuen Mun districts, are preliminarily expected to be completed by 2029 progressively. The WSD will review the factors for water mains replacements, including the risk and consequences of water mains leaks or bursts, and thereby the priority of water mains replacements, and will submit short and medium-term water mains replacement plans for the Development Bureau's consideration shortly. Currently, the WSD has provided dual water mains for critical facilities, for example, hospitals, to enhance water supply resilience. However, if a backup water mains is to be established in areas with aged water mains, multiple factors need to be considered. This includes the congested underground facilities in urban areas and whether there is available underground space, and whether the approach is cost-effective, as the construction and management of backup water mains that are mostly in standby mode will inevitably involve significant additional resources. In the event of water main burst, the WSD will take appropriate measures to minimize the affected extent and duration of water suspension as far as possible. These measures include temporarily redirecting water supply through connected networks to avoid the suspension of water supply to consumers due to water main burst. Moreover, the WSD will continue to strengthen its response management for water supply incidents. It includes deploying sufficient water trucks to meet sudden demands in a short time frame. The department has also updated its internal guidelines for the dissemination of information on emergency water mains repairs, specifying the multifaceted factors and timelines involved in such work to enable early and timely updates. It has also enhanced communication with the district officers, district council members, and the care teams by instantly disseminating message for swift information sharing. Now, the government has been digitalizing our water management work. We are confident that with the implementation of a series of measures as well as timely deployment of resources, and with the help of technology, we can enhance the management quality of our water mains further. Mr. Holden CHOW, President, I think the government should approach it with a risk-based approach. For high-risk areas, priority should be given to adopting technologies and enhance the capacity of the WIN network. Now, my question is, with the wide scope of the water mains burst in Chuen Mun, some 200,000 residents were affected. Now, the government promised to study the cost-effectiveness of establishing dual water mains in Chuen Mun. Can the government show us the figure justifying the decision? The scope of impact is really huge. We want to avoid the incident as much as possible. Secretary, President, concerning backup water mains, as I've mentioned in the main reply, this strategy is mainly implemented for critical and strategic facilities. After all, there is the concern of resources. As a backup facility, it is mostly in standby mode. For those which would affect water supply to residential areas, we need to have a separate strategy. Taking Chun Mun District as an example, there were several water mains burst incidents by the end of last month. Now, actually, ruptures have appeared earlier on. However, immediate repair and suspension of water supply were not implemented by the WSD because the WSD redirected the water supply to the nearby reservoir to conduct the maintenance and repair work once there is sufficient water in the reservoir. With such a strategy, the duration of water suspension can be minimized. This is the strategy we are adopting. So besides geo-water mains for critical facilities, for other areas, we will adopt the strategy I have mentioned and also expanding the coverage of the WIN so as to detect rupture and failures earlier on. Now, the water mains burst incidents happened in Chun Mun because the trunk mains, freshwater trunk mains in Chun Mun were not covered by WIN. So once sensors are installed for water pipes territory-wide, we can avoid the situation. Mr. Stanley Lee, the water mains rupture is very annoying. It caused a lot of nuisance to the residents. Now, in my constituency, the Wanpo Road has seen a water mains burst causing suspension of water service to a school and the housing estates nearby, but that was near the evening hours and it caused a lot of nuisance. Now, prevention is important. However, there is a lot of work between prevention and action. Now, in year 2024, some 1,220 water leakages were detected through WIN. But critically, we need to conduct maintenance and repair. Otherwise, there will still be rupture and leakages. So among the 1,220 leakages last year, on average, how long did it take for each case to be rectified? Secretary, President, I don't have the figure at hand. I will supplement the data to the member later on. Generally speaking, once leakage is detected, the WSD would get a message and the WSD would take action. Take the Cheung Kwan O district mentioned by the member, for example. At the time, the WSD again redirected water supply to minimize the area of public housing estates affected. For the housing development which was affected, communication was conducted with the proper management office. Now, usually on top of each building there would be a water tank. So with communication, we can minimize the need for residents to go out to get water from water tanks because the building's own water tanks can last for a short period of time. Now, concerning the time required for repair and maintenance, I will supplement the data later on. Mr. Benson, look, President, to minimize the risk of rupture and leakage of water mains, the WSD has established a mechanism to monitor the so-called rupture black spots. It's available on the website. Now, if there are more than one rupture in a span of 2 years' time, the government would attach priority to repairing and replacing the section of water pipes. However, from planning to completion, it usually takes 4 to 7 years to complete each project. That's too long. When there is a rupture, the impact would be significant. Now, for water pipes in the black spots, how can we speed up the repair and rectification process for the pipes? For example, can we deploy inline robots or sensors to these water pipes so as to prevent ruptures and restore confidence in our water supply system? Secretary, for main burst hotspots, water mains which have seen a burst would be put on the list. For mains with frequent bursting, they would be replaced or overhauled. However, usually these pipes are located in main transport thoroughfares. Now, actually, the administrative process for replacing water mains is very simple. The hurdle lies in making a plan for maintenance to minimize the impact on transport. We need to do it bit by bit and only during certain hours to minimize the impact on traffic. So these are the limitations which explain the longer time needed for replacement or repair. The hurdle lies not in administrative work. Now we have required the Highways Department to submit its plan to the Development Bureau, and then we will conduct a review. If there are water mains requiring replacement, but the impact would be huge on the transportation system, can we speed up the work for a new road nearby so as to provide an alternative route when works takes place? So a lot of advanced planning and interdepartmental communication is needed. We will report to the panel on developments soon about that. Mr. Duncan Chiu, President, every year, a significant portion of Dongjiang River water we have purchased are wasted through leakage of our pipes. So does the wind network cover water pipes carrying water bought from Dongjiang? Secretary, President, the concept of wind is not to discriminate between the sources of water, whether it is Dongjiang River water, fresh water from precipitation, or water from the salination plant. We make no distinction. Sensors and sensing equipment will be installed in water pipes covered by wind. As I've mentioned, 80% of the distribution network is equipped with these equipment. For the remaining 20%, we will do so as soon as possible. Now for trunk mains, there are trunk mains linking reservoir and water treatment plants with the surface pipe network. We are also installing sensors along the trunk mains. We will expand the coverage of wind in the next 2 years. Thank you. Mr. Tony Jie. Thank you, President. Stability of water supply is of utmost importance. For whatever reasons, like rupture or leakage, if there is water suspension, it would be very inconvenient to the public. We should prevent these incidents as much as possible. So I applaud the government's work on prevention. Now the coverage of wind, it mainly covers the distribution network and also the distribution water pipes. Now for freshwater pipes, freshwater mains, if there is a rupture or leakage, the impact would be huge, even more so than saltwater pipes. So from a risk management approach, the government is going to cover the previously not covered water mains. Now the government is going to collaborates with the Hong Kong Polytechnic University to establish a joint laboratory to study methods to prevent rupture. Now, what about materials? There has been an incident where water quality has been undermined because of the poor make of water mains. So has the government studied what kind of material is the best and also how the joints should be jointed? Secretary, for the joint laboratory, in collaboration with the HK Polytechnic University, we study all kinds of technologies. And not just the Polytechnic University, we are communicating with other professional bodies as well. For example, wind indeed mainly covers freshwater distribution network only. However, saltwater pipes are vulnerable to aging as well because salt water is corrosive. So at present, we cannot install sensors in salt water mains, but we are consulting the experts on the latest technology on this. That will be a topic for the joint laboratory. On material, now the previous generation of water mains were made of cast iron or bitumen. They are inferior materials because they would be prone to rupture upon contact. So now we are replacing the pipes with steel. We have decommissioned the use of bitumen lining. We are using PVC and other more advanced materials as lining. So with the establishment and commissioning of the Advanced Construction Material Research Center last year, more breakthroughs will be achieved. We have already retired the inferior materials for water mains from the previous generation. Thank you.
Question 3, Mr. CHAN Hok-fung. Thank you, President. There are views that high accommodation costs and limited choices are related to the fact that only about 66% of mainland tourists stay overnight in Hong Kong during this year's Labor Day Golden Week, and that the government should make good use of the natural resources in rural areas to develop homestay lodgings, thereby extending tourists' length of stay in Hong Kong. In this connection, will the government inform this council, 1, as it has been reported that Japan has relaxed its regulations on homestay lodgings in recent years to focus more on management requirements than on strict hardware facility standards for hotels and guest houses, whether the government has studied regulating homestay lodgings in this direction? If so, of the details. 2, as there are views that Hong Kong has many rural locations with natural scenic beauty and potential for developing homestay lodgings, such as Puyo and Mui Wo, whether the government will study allowing village houses in such locations that have been issued with a certificate of compliance to be automatically eligible to operate as a homestay lodging, in order to streamline the administrative procedures for applying to operate homestay lodgings, if so, of the timetable. And 3, as it has been reported that a private kitchen in rural area has encountered grave difficulties when applying for restaurant licenses, whether the government will relax requirements in light of the unique circumstances of rural areas and proactively assist rural homestay lodgings that also offer restaurants by processing licenses for both simultaneously so as to speed up the development of homestay lodgings. Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs. President, in response to the 3 parts of the question raised by Mr. CHAN Hok-fung, we have consulted the Development Bureau and the Environment Horticulture Bureau. Our consolidated reply is as follows. The Office of Licensing Authority, OLA, under the Home Affairs Department, HAD, is responsible for licensing and enforcement work under the Hotel and Guest House Accommodation Ordinance, Cap 349. The purpose of the ordinance is to ensure the premises intended for use as hotels or guest houses meet statutory building and fire safety standards to protect the safety of lodgers and the public. Moreover, guests typically only stay in hotels or guest houses during nighttime or for short periods and may not be familiar with escape routes. It is therefore necessary to lay down reasonable safety requirements to ensure their safety. Under the current system, any premises providing paid short-term accommodation, including hotels, guest houses, or so-called homestay lodgings, must comply with the building and fire safety standards stipulated in the ordinance before being licensed to operate. The ordinance does not impose special restrictions on or exclude homestay lodgings. As long as the operation mode falls within the definition of hotels or guest houses, an application for a license to operate can be made regardless of whether the premises are located in an urban area or a rural area. The OLA has long been adopting a flexible and pragmatic approach in processing all license applications to facilitate the operation of licensed premises. When processing hotel and guest house license applications, the OLA ensures the premises under the applications meet basic safety requirements such as building safety and fire safety, while taking into account the scale and operation mode of the premises. Additionally, premises must comply with relevant requirements of the ordinance in order to ensure the safety of lodgers and the public while balancing the interests of other owners of premises in the same building. Most of these requirements were introduced by the amendment ordinance in 2020, including the no-use restriction requirement, that is, there should be no restrictive clauses in the deed of mutual covenant or government lease of the premises concerned, and the person responsible for operating, opening, or managing a hotel or a guest house must meet the fit and proper requirement. The application process does not impose additional restrictions for homestay lodgings type operations. Upon receiving a license application, the OLA will conduct an on-site inspection and formulate applicable licensing requirements based on the specific circumstances of each premises. While the government is striving to foster the healthy development of the industry, safety is our number one priority. As long as the safety of guests, other persons in the same building, and the general public is ensured, the OLA will proactively facilitate the application and approval processes for licenses. Land leases for small houses in the NT generally permit non-industrial uses, including operation as guest houses. So as long as the small house has obtained either a certificate of compliance or a no objection to occupy letter from the Lands Department, no lease modification will be required. However, a guest house license is still required for the operation of a guest house in order to ensure the safety of lodgers and the general public. But we understand that village houses in rural areas have their own unique characteristics and constraints. The OLA has always adopted a flexible and pragmatic approach in processing applications, allowing applicants to propose alternative solutions on a case-by-case basis to meet the requirements for licensing, provided that building safety and fire safety are ensured. As long as there is no compromise of public safety, relevant departments will consider local situations when processing applications for rural and old village houses in order to help applicants to meet the licensing requirements. As at the 31st of May 2025, 108 village houses in the NT or on outlying islands in Hong Kong have been issued with guest house licenses. In fact, to promote ecotourism, facilitate visitors, and help revitalize desolate villages, the government's interdepartmental task force has formulated a series of optimizing measures to facilitate guest house and food business license applications for some 90 countryside villages in the NT without vehicular access, taking into account the uniqueness of remote areas. These optimizing measures cover various aspects, including town planning, land fire safety, building safety, and so on. Currently, relevant licenses have been obtained for some guest houses in Lai Chi Wo, a takeaway shop in Yim Tin Tai, and a restaurant in Kok Po under these measures. Based on actual cases, the government is sorting out requirements, details, and implementation procedures of the measures, and will compile a set of guide to application for reference by interested operators. We will continue to review room for enhancement in the license application process for guest houses and food businesses in countryside areas to create a more business-friendly environment to support countryside conservation and revitalization. Under the interdepartmental collaboration mechanism, the first batch of guest house licenses was successfully issued for 11 village houses in Lai Chi Wo between December 2021 and September 2022. Thank you, President. Mr. CHAN Hok-fung, in the written reply of the Secretary, guest house licenses are mainly for those in hotels or in old houses or in old buildings. This time we're talking about homestay lodgings. Mainly they are in 3-story buildings. There are many people staying in the building. The occupation permit has been obtained. Director Mr. Xia Baolong wanted us to develop island hopping tourism, so we need to relax requirements in relation to homestay lodgings. Will the Secretary study turning the homestay lodging system into a registration system? In other words, as long as an occupation permit is obtained, as long as the number of lodgers doesn't go beyond the requirement, then a license for homestay lodgings can be automatically issued. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chan. In guest house licenses, there is no legal definition when it comes to homestay lodgings. Under licenses of guest houses, however, there's a category referring to homestay lodgings, that is resort houses. We have issued about 1,000 guest house licenses. Over 10% of these licenses have been issued to village houses or resort houses. Member asked whether we could put in place flexible arrangements for village houses to obtain homestay lodgings licenses. I mentioned in my reply that we would take into account the prevailing circumstances. We take into account the environment or facilities. We understand they may not meet the general requirements applicable to guest houses. So when an applicant wants to operate their accommodation units as a homestay lodging, we will suggest alternative solutions on a case-by-case basis, say in relation to fire safety requirements. We want to make sure that the safety of the lodgers is ensured. We also need to protect the neighborhood, not just for lodgers. Just now, member asked about a registration mechanism. If one needs to operate a village house as a homestay lodging, one needs to register and then one will be exempted from the regulation. We thank members' question and suggestion, and we will take it into consideration. In the operation of a guest house or a homestay lodging, we will take into account the safety and the views of people living nearby. We will also factor in the impact of on the relevant residents. In 2020, we have made legislative amendments, say non-restrictive use. Take it as an example, whether it be a homestay lodging or a resort or a guest house within a building, we need to make sure such operations will not cause any impact on the neighborhood. That's why we agree with member for small houses or village houses in the new territories. If they need to be operated as a homestay lodging, we need to give them sufficient convenience and flexibility. That's exactly why we have issued about 100 or so holiday flat licenses. We thank member for his suggestion. We will keep reviewing the situation in the community. We will also take into account the demand or call in the community while we work to improve the situation. Mr. Stephen Ho, a homestay lodging is different from a guest house. Lodgers may rent a homestay lodging as a whole. If one rents such a homestay lodging for several months, then the situation is different. Airbnb is an example. If Airbnb is legal, then overseas tourists may not choose formal guest houses, and this may give rise to unhealthy or unfair competition in society. We need to take into account the situation in society. probably the existing vetting procedures are not in line with the current situation in society. Secretary, thank you, President. There are two parts to Mr. Stephen Ho's question. For small houses in the new territories or for village houses in the NT, they are different from homestay lodgings in the city. That's why we have the category holiday flats under guest houses. We are aware of the situation, as a member mentioned. We understand the situations or the circumstances are different. That's why we have a separate category of holiday flats. Over 10% of the licenses have been issued to holiday flats. So the requirements are different when it comes to holiday flats comparing with those of guest houses. That's exactly why I said that we will take into account the situation and then we suggest alternative solutions to the applicants. That's why we have issued 100 or so licenses. When it comes to Airbnb operation, in my answer to Mr. Chan's question, in 2020, we amended the Hotel and Guest House Accommodation Ordinance. The operation of guest houses might cause impacts on the neighborhood. So will we review the situation to make enhancements? Well, we have actually been working on this. I want to let member know we have e-services, say online application, streamlined application procedures, and so on. In general, within 11 to 13 weeks, a license could be issued. But in some cases, with all the necessary documents and the design meeting the requirement, within 3 to 4 weeks, an application is granted. The application procedures may be considered cumbersome and complicated. That's why some shy away from making such applications. Well, I suggest operators should come to the OLA to take action. Just submit an application. Our colleagues will help you to make an application speedily. We will also suggest alternative solutions on a case-by-case basis. That's why we managed to issue the licenses within 3 to 4 weeks. The current term government emphasizes enhancing speed, efficiency, and so on. That's why we have rolled out a number of optimizing measures. Thank you. Dr. Julius Ho. Thank you, Secretary. I'd like to write on Mrs. Stephen Ho's point. In relation to Airbnb, this ordinance targets guest houses, holiday flats, and hotels. However, they are different from homestay lodgings. What is a homestay lodging? We usually see homestay lodgings as Airbnb or B&B in the UK. These lodgings are warmer with a greater human touch. When it comes to holiday flats, they're different. In 2020, the ordinance was amended. But then it wasn't targeted at the relaxation of requirements in relation to homestay lodgings. I'm glad that the Secretary mentioned taking into account the prevailing circumstances. I hope you will make sure the safety of lodgers is ensured and our reputation will be maintained. We need to give an impression to tourists that Hong Kong is like their home, and then they will also feel a greater human touch. Secretary, thank you. Whatever the name of a homestay lodging, in the licensing process, the OLA or the whole government aims to facilitate healthy development of the industry, we do our level best to provide optimizing measures. That's why I call on operators to come to us to make applications. We will review the applications on a case-by-case basis. As I said, in considering what extra clauses to impose, we consider, first of all, how the industry will develop. That's why we suggest alternative solutions on a case-by-case basis, say e-platforms, e-services, and so on. We're working to streamline the processes. For instance, we don't request duplicate papers to be submitted once again. We want to ensure the safety of tourists. Whether an accommodation unit is a holiday flat or a homestay lodging, we want tourists to feel safe. We want them to feel confident in the safety of the accommodation units. Otherwise, in the unfortunate event of a blaze, this will scare away tourists. This will also spread panic. We need to ensure the safety of the neighborhood, and we will also have to minimize the impact caused to the neighborhood. That's why in 2020, when the ordinance was amended, we take into account restrictive use in the part of the building, say, or the no use restriction requirement in the deed of mutual confidence. We work to simplify procedures. We help applicants to make applications faster. Whatever we can do to enhance the procedures, we will. Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, President. In the Secretary's answers to members, the relevant ordinances and regulations apply to Hong Kong. However, when it comes to remote areas, I understand that the government has done quite a lot on promoting the remote areas, say 90 remote villages in Hong Kong. Application guidelines have been provided. I'm pretty sure that the government has taken into account the prevailing circumstances in society, say the application licenses for restaurants. These administrative measures target 90 or so remote areas where there's a lack of infrastructures or amenities. Now, with these guidelines, are they clear guidelines that are applicable to remote areas as well? We need to encourage urban-rural integration and to implement the concept of tourism is everywhere in Hong Kong. Secretary, thank you. As members said, we attach a lot of importance to cross-departmental collaboration. For these dozens of villages, we want to take stock of the experience we have so that we will be able to promote the development of homestay lodgings as well as village revitalization. That's why under the EEB, there is the Countryside Conservation Office, CCO. I will ask the Undersecretary for Environment and Ecology to give you more information. Thank you. The Countryside Conservation Office has set up a task force on restaurant license. In the past few years, 11 guest houses in Lai Chi Wo have been issued with guest house licenses in 2021. Some application guidelines have also been drawn up. So for 90 countryside villages in the NT without vehicular access, application guidelines have been provided to them. We will also be working with different departments to consider extending the applicability on these regulations? Thank you.
有報道
Question for Ms. Judy CHAN. It has been reported that the taxi industry has struggled to attract new blood to the industry in recent years, and as the first batch of taxi fleets will officially commence service in July this year, there will be keen demand for taxi drivers. There are views that the situation can be rectified by optimizing the procedure and content of the taxi written test of the Transport Department. In this connection, will the government inform this council, 1. of the number of candidates sitting for the taxi written test, as well as the number of candidates who passed the test and the passing rate in each of the past 5 years, 2. how the location and route questions of Part B of the taxi written test will be optimized to suit in the context of driving the new normal arising from the advancement of technology nowadays, and 3. whether it has any plans to assist the industry in attracting newcomers to the industry. If so, what are the details? If not, the reasons for that. Secretary for Transport and Logistics. President, the government is committed to enhancing the service quality of taxis. We have introduced a series of measures over the years. Such measures include introducing a taxi fleet regime, enhancing the taxi written test, increasing the maximum passenger seating capacity of taxis, introducing a taxi driver offense point or TDOP system, and relaxing no stopping restrictions for taxis at designated restricted zones. These measures are launched with a view to providing passengers with a better riding experience, enhancing the overall image of the taxi trade, and promoting the healthy development of the taxi industry in the long run, thereby creating a virtuous cycle to attract more new blood to the taxi industry. On Ms. Judy Chan's questions, my reply is as follows. The taxi written test focuses on assessing candidates' practical knowledge on the guidelines and regulations related to taxi operation, key locations and routes, as well as the road users code. The Transport Department enhanced the taxi written test in February 2020 by updating the test content and adjusting the number of questions with a view to focusing more on the assessment of core knowledge regarding taxi services. Such measures managed to attract more people to apply for the taxi written test. The number of candidates sitting in the test has risen significantly by 40% in the past few years, from less than 10,000 in 2019 to around 14,000 in 2024. In addition, the passing rate of the written test rose from 37% in 2019 to 60% in 2024. The above figures show that the enhancement of the taxi written test has made quite a difference in attracting newcomers to become taxi drivers. The numbers of candidates who sat and passed the taxi written test from 2019 to 2024 and the corresponding passing rate are set out in the annex. 2. To keep up with the times and better align the taxi written test with the practical needs of the trade, the TD is currently conducting a comprehensive review of the arrangement of the test, in particular having considered that modern navigation technology can now assist taxi drivers in quickly locating destinations and planning the most efficient driving route. The TD, while ensuring that candidates who pass the test possess the professional knowledge and qualities of taxi drivers, and that they have sufficient knowledge and grasp Hong Kong's famous places and road networks, will substantially reduce and simplify the questions on locations and routes under Part B of the taxi written test, and update the question bank with a view to better aligning the test with practical needs. Besides simplifying the questions under Part B of the test in light of the technological applications, the TD will also incorporate new questions into the taxi written test so as to assess candidates' knowledge of the series of new measures to enhance taxi service quality, such as the taxi fleet regime and the TDOP system. The TD is now pressing ahead with the relevant work with the aim of implementing the further enhanced taxi written test in the fourth quarter of this year. 3. Apart from the enhanced taxi written test, the government has also relaxed the eligibility requirements for commercial vehicles, including taxi driving licenses, from October 1st, 2020. The period required for an applicant to hold a private car or light goods vehicle full driving license has been shortened from a minimum of 3 years to 1 year, with a view to attracting more new blood to the industry. Separately, the government introduced the taxi fleet regime last year to encourage the trade to adopt a more professional and systematic approach to the management of their fleet and drivers in order to enhance the quality of taxi services and improve the overall image of the taxi industry. Last week, the Transport Department announced that they would issue the official taxi fleet licenses to 5 taxi fleets within July this year. For a while, the 5 fleet operators have been proactively taking different measures to recruit new blood and existing drivers to join the fleet. Various operators have taken part in the district and thematic job fairs organized by the Labor Department, enabling job seekers to gain a deeper understanding of the advantages and recruitment model of the fleet. The fleet have also adopted different measures to recruit taxi drivers, including offering new driver referral bonus and safe driving bonus, as well as providing flexible work hours. The operators also offer pre-service training to enhance drivers' customer service skills and implement systematic management to support drivers in handling customer inquiries, creating a better working environment for fleet drivers. We have learned from the fleet operators that the job fairs and various measures have attracted inquiries from job seekers outside the industry. The operators have recruited more than 40 newcomers, and the work will continue. This shows that the taxi fleet regime has helped to attract new blood to the industry. Moreover, the Employees Retraining Board also offers taxi-related training courses to provide prospective drivers with information on the development of the industry, driving safety, and points to note in the course of providing taxi services, and this will assist those people to become taxi drivers. Eligible persons may even receive tuition subsidies or full course fee waivers. Meanwhile, certain taxi dealers also offer online courses for those seeking to apply for a taxi driver's license, as well as training courses for individuals who are new to the industry, so that the newcomers can better understand the daily operation of the taxi industry. All these measures help attract new blood to the industry. The government will continue to monitor the operation and management of the taxi industry and implement different measures to assist the trade in enhancing their services with a view to enhancing the healthy development of the taxi industry in the long term. Thank you, President. Ms. Judy CHAN. I welcome the Secretary's remarks in the main reply. In addressing the GPS technology these days, you switch on the system, you can pick the most efficient route, and that's just a click away. As the Secretary noted, taxi fleets are struggling to hire drivers, and we're not even at 50% of the mark. Now, the further enhancements will not come on stream until the fourth quarter this year. Can we bring that forward so that the taxi fleets can hire the drivers sooner? Secretary. The review of the taxi written tests is well underway, and we do want to move faster. And on 2 days, the TED offers the written tests. If needed, there can be more slots to meet the needs of applicants. In February 2020, we enhanced the taxi written test. We slashed the number of questions from 140 to 90. In the past, the requirement was 94% for you to pass the test. Now it is down to 86%. The test used to take 70 minutes. Now it's 45 minutes. Now we are going full steam ahead with the review, and along this direction, we will further shorten and simplify the written test. Now, on the taxi fleet, the operators are working through different channels, including social media and their advertisements. They're offering bonuses and flexible work hours. The TD and the Labor Department will continue to organize job fairs to further the effort. Mr. Frankie Yik. Thank you, President. I think the Bureau knows well the shortage of drivers in Hong Kong. I'm from the transport industry. In 2023, there was an industry-specific labor importation scheme for the transport trade. We welcome that. Now, half of the quota went to the transport sector. For minibuses, 900, and non-franchise buses, 800 places. Now, people generally welcome those minibus drivers, and we welcome the taxi fleet regime. All 5 operators are struggling to hire cabbies. So my question for the Secretary is, now we will consider expanding the scheme of importation scheme for cabbies. Can we let those cabbies go to the fleet? And those fleets will have to hire the workers on employment contracts. We can see 3 benefits. 1, soon implementation of the fleet, and since employment contracts are involved, people will be happy with the performance of those cabbies. And 3, our taxi fleet regime will be a success. Will the Secretary consider this proposal? I thank Mr. Yik for his question. As at the end of April this year, there were 210,000 people with a taxi driver's license. Active drivers, 46,000 people. We're enhancing the taxi written test. A few years ago, we also brought in an enhancement. You only have to hold a private car license for 1 year before you can obtain a taxi driver's license. Now, since April 2025, there were 17,500 drivers, people of a younger age holding the license, and that's up 48%, nearly 50%. So we have to take a multi-pronged approach to the problem. We have to enhance the taxi written test. People can now rely on GPS, so there will be less of a need for the location route test. And then the taxi fleets are also adopting different strategies to hire cabbies. These are some practical ways forward. Mr. Frankie Yik noted the development in the minibus sector. Mainland minibus drivers have been brought in, and the response has been positive. Those people are hired on employment contracts. Those people are also expected to be familiar with certain routes. That's because there are public expectations. So with the taxi fleet system, and we're also enhancing the ways for people to join the taxi trade, we want to strengthen the incentive for people to become cabbies so that we will get more cabbies. That way, there will be people of high caliber joining this trade. Mr. Michael Teen. Taxi fleet or not, the taxi trade is struggling to find people. That's because of the ride-hailing platforms. Even with the basic salary, taxi fleets are struggling to hire cabbies, and people are waiting and taking a wait-and-see approach because people are waiting for the legalization of ride-hailing platforms. And I believe we should be discussing that at the meeting of the panel on transport this month. The 5 taxi fleets expect only 1,000 taxis in service this year. The government hinted that there will be relaxations to the requirements. Now, based on the application criteria, those fleets will have to gradually meet the full requirement in 4 months' time. That means by November this year, we will need to see 35,000 taxis on the road. I am pessimistic about meeting that goal. Mr. Michael Teen, please get to your question. My question is simple. If we miss that target in November, we will further relax the criteria, or we will simply drop the threshold, or we will simply take chances, allow the taxi fleets to charge people who hail taxis on the street more. I thank Mr. Teen for his question. Now, on improving service quality, the taxi fleet regime is an important step forward, and we have forged a consensus with the trade on this. We can see the taxi fleet making the preparations. The TD has said recently that within July, the official licenses will go out to the fleet operators. We grant those licenses so that the fleet can be operational, and they can meet the public's needs, and they will be able to establish a brand image, and that will in turn attract cabbies to join the fleet, and that would be a win-win outcome for everyone. So this is a reciprocal process. Those fleets will be able to pick up and drop off passengers at the boundary control point, and this can help set an example of quality service for the taxi trade. The focus today is on attracting cabbies to the industry and improving taxi service quality. So we will continue to work on attracting cabbies and improving service quality. You spend much of your time commenting on the situation. You have asked your question. Please have a seat. Mr. Michael Lee. Fewer and fewer people are joining the taxi trade because people have switched to ride-hailing platforms instead. Over the past 12 months, there were 30,000 active private car drivers working as for the ride-hailing platforms. Now, illegal carriage of passengers for reward is an offense. Even private cars on a probationary license are working for the ride-hailing platforms. I know a proposal will be put on the table on ride-hailing this year. So my question for the Secretary is, for private cars and light goods vehicles working for ride-hailing platforms, will we require those vehicles or drivers to obtain the specific licenses before operating? The question here is about increasing the number of taxi drivers. Please do not digress. Secretary, any response to the point from the member? Thank you, President. For drivers offering point-to-point transport services, they should offer safe services for the public. So, taxi drivers or hire car drivers, in any case, there are requirements. We want to keep people safe. We want to ensure road safety. Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. I welcome the remark from the Secretary about issuing the 5 licenses to the fleet. I support this so that these fleets can lead by example, and that may help raise the service quality of the taxi trade. Now, I'm looking at the main reply. The written test has been enhanced, and that effort is paying off. For a taxi passenger, quality matters. Passengers need more than just more cabbies. People also want service quality. So let's look at the written test. The test is on road safety, regulations, etc. Something is missing, and that is service. Now, of course, the taxi fleet regime can do something to enhance quality. But aside from the taxi fleet regime, we have the written test. Of course, the Employees Retraining Board can help as well. Have we thought about how we can enhance the customer service quality of cabbies? Secretary. I thank Mr. Chen for his question. Now, in 2018, the TD set up a committee on taxi service quality. Ms. Judy CHAN joined the committee at that point. We had people from the taxi industry on that committee. Training is a focus of the committee. The taxi written test is only the first threshold. Customer service matters. Even with positioning technology, you have to have the skill to operate the navigation system, and you have to be able to explain how things work to the passengers. The pre-service training for cabbies covers customer service. The fleet operators hire cabbies, and then they will also arrange in-service training for those cabbies. That way, the cabbies can offer better service. Now, there's also the taxi driver offense point system. As I said, we have simplified the questions, but we also have to step up the work on the TDOP system. We want to make it clear that there are rigorous requirements and enforcement when it comes to complaints and offenses so that the cabbies follow the law. Mr. Chen Leung. Thank you, President. Now, there has been a 40% increase in the number of candidates sitting the test. But taking the test is different from joining the trade. Now, there were 210,000 people with a taxi driver's license, but active drivers number just 40,000. Now, for future candidates of taxi driver's licenses, can we introduce a renewal mechanism? So for a while after you obtain your license, you need a certain number of hours on the road as a cabbie before you can renew your license. That's how we can make sure people with a license actually drive a taxi. Secretary. Anything that can help us attract new blood to the industry and enhance service quality is something we are willing to consider. The law states that for a permanent resident of Hong Kong, age 21 or above, and this person holds a private car's full license for at least 1 year, they can apply for a taxi driver's license. Now, there's a 10-year rule for the renewal of the private car's license, but going forward, we do keep an open mind on ideas to enhance service quality for the taxi trade.
Question number 5, Dr. Johnny NG. President, the stablecoins bill passed in May this year aims to establish a licensing and regulatory regime for fiat-referenced stablecoins issued in Hong Kong. There are views that this marks a milestone in the global development of Web3 and represents an important step in Hong Kong's journey to becoming an international Web3 hub. In this connection, will the government inform this council, 1, of ways to promote the expansion of stablecoin use cases, including fostering connections between stablecoin issuers and application scenarios on the mainland so as to facilitate the transition from regulatory compliance to establishment of a business ecosystem. 2, how the government will leverage the implementation of the Stablecoins Ordinance to promote the openness and flexibility of Hong Kong's stablecoin laws and regulations internationally, whilst also synergizing with Hong Kong's advantages under one country, two systems, as well as its status as an international financial center, which is good for a stablecoin development to attract global compliance stablecoin issuers and large-scale international financial institutions to issue stablecoins and establish a presence in Hong Kong. 3, whether it will make preparations for the development of offshore renminbi stablecoins and seek support from central authorities so as to establish the creditworthiness of Hong Kong's offshore renminbi stablecoins. Secretary for Financial Services and Treasury. President, in May this year, the LegCo passed the Stablecoins Bill establishing a licensing regime for issues of fiat-referenced stablecoins or FRS in Hong Kong. The ordinance further strengthens the regulatory framework for digital asset activities in Hong Kong to safeguard monetary and financial stability and consolidates and enhances Hong Kong's position as an international financial center. The ordinance will come into effect on the 1st of August this year, at which the Hong Kong MA will begin accepting licensing applications. The Hong Kong MA is conducting a market consultation on detailed guidelines with a view to finalizing the guidelines as soon as practicable. Having consulted the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, my reply to various parts of the question is as follows. 1. To harness the potential of stablecoins, the government and regulators will provide a conducive environment and necessary regulatory guidance to enable licensed stablecoin issuers in Hong Kong to explore and implement different use cases with a view to addressing real-world pain points in economic activities, putting forward regulatory priorities for potential risk and promoting the sustainable development of the market. To this end, The Hong Kong MA launched the stablecoin issuer sandbox earlier this year to allow Hong Kong MA to understand the business models of institutions planning to issue FRS in Hong Kong and to communicate regulatory expectations and provide guidance, fostering development of practical use cases for stablecoins. With both local and global backgrounds, the participating institutions come from a wide spectrum of industries, including cross-border e-commerce, logistics, I&T, banking, telecommunication services. The sandbox enables participants to conduct testing on their proposed use cases and operations within a limited scope and in a risk-controlled environment. Participation in the sandbox is not a prerequisite for license application in the future. Furthermore, the government recently issued the policy statement on the development of digital assets in Hong Kong. It covers the policy direction for advancing digital asset use cases and cross-sectoral collaboration and articulates the exploration of stablecoins as a payment tool. To demonstrate the government's support and to take the lead, in the policy statement 2.0, the government invites proposals from market participants on how the government may test the usage of licensed stablecoins, for example, in enhancing efficiency of government payments. Alongside market and use case development, it is also important to ensure compliance in business operation. Stablecoin issuers must demonstrate adequate setup capabilities and experience across a range of areas, including management and security of reserve assets, effective price stabilization mechanisms, comprehensive and feasible redemption policies, as well as capabilities in technological security, risk management, and anti-money laundering. Where the use cases of stablecoins involve cross-border activities, applicants are also expected to develop a comprehensive compliance plan, demonstrate their financial strength, and ensure that they and their business partners have the necessary regulatory approvals and will comply with the applicable regulations in Hong Kong and other jurisdictions when they carry out activities relating to stablecoins. The Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority have been proactively communicating with stakeholders in Hong Kong and other jurisdictions on the regulation and development of stablecoins, including potential issuers, market participants, and professional service providers. Along with the upcoming implementation of the ordinance, we will further enhance our engagement with stakeholders across the globe to elaborate on Hong Kong's regulatory framework for issuers and highlight the balanced approach of our framework in managing risk while promoting industry development, such as adopting a more open model that allows licensed issuers to peg their stablecoins to different fiat currencies for the purpose of issuance. We will also promote Hong Kong's unique advantages as an international financial center, including our close connection with international markets, mature financial market and infrastructure, comprehensive legal system, and a wealth of professional talents through overseas visits and ongoing work exchanges. The government's recent promulgation of the Policy Statement 2.0 also demonstrates to the digital asset and related sectors around the world our steadfast commitment and policy direction to establish Hong Kong as a global digital asset hub. The licensing regime for stablecoin issuers in Hong Kong is flexible and open, allowing licensed issuers to peg their stablecoins to different fiat currencies for the purpose of stablecoin issuance. We welcome institutions from around the world to apply for license based on their actual business needs. We will review license applications with a set of common standards, such as the issuer's compliance with regulatory requirements in the areas of reserve asset management, stabilization mechanisms, redemption arrangements, and internal control measures. The government and financial regulators will closely monitor regulatory developments and maintain communications with regulatory authorities in different jurisdictions. The digital asset market is developing and evolving rapidly, guided by the principle of same activity, same risks, same regulation, and adopting a risk-based approach. The government will continue to enhance and establish a regulatory regime that reflects local circumstances and aligns with international standards and practices, so as to promote the healthy, responsible, and sustainable development of the digital asset market in Hong Kong, thereby further strengthening our status as an international financial center. Thank you. Dr. Johnny NG. Recently, there have been a heated discussion about stablecoins in the mainland, in Hong Kong, and around the world. Now, on the 1st of August, the Hong Kong MA will begin accepting applications. So my question for the administration is this: roughly when the first batch of licenses will be issued to allow them to officially run the business, and will there be greater diversity? That means granting as many licenses as possible. Secretary. Thank you, President. To answer the member's question, which is rather specific, is a question about the timetable and the number of licenses to be issued. Let me illustrate our policy. We will begin accepting application on the 1st of August, which is the date of operation of the ordinance. So we'll make sure that this target is met. The second point is about the number of licenses. Now, as my colleagues and myself have explained on a number of occasions, this is a tool that will promote development of the financial market. At the same time, we want to make steady progress. So, in other words, the number of licenses to be issued at the outset will not be a big number. Now, the point is we need to solve practical and real-world pain points. So, in considering and approving applications, we need to consider the use cases and how pain points are addressed so as to bring benefits to the real economy. That will be our focus. Mr. Robert Lee, after passing the stablecoins bill, there have been a lot of concerns from the community about the latest development. When it comes to stablecoins, CBDC, as well as meme coins, I don't think people are very clear about these concepts. So whilst promoting stablecoin in the market, there will be some unscrupulous elements or fraudsters trying to run the business without getting a license. So my question is about public education. How will the administration encourage the public to use the services provided by licensed companies? Secretary. President, I think the member's question is about an increasing variety of products in the digital assets markets and how we will be better prepared so as to educate the public about the features and differences of products. Now, specifically, this is a question about fiat-referenced stablecoins. It's different from cryptocurrencies because cryptocurrencies can be issued by any issuer, whereas the fiat-referenced stablecoins are issued by licensed private entities. They can be used as they are pegged to physical currencies. So in terms of the use cases or a form of payment, they are very different. In terms of risks and the applications as well, we need to explain these details. Now, in fact, we have had the support of the Legislative Council. Before and after passage of the bill, we have been engaging stakeholders. We have been educating investors through different channels. For example, we leverage on the established channels between the regulators and the market, as well as the investment promotion units. We explain to the industry the legal backing of this bill, as well as the differentiation of products in the market, as well as our philosophy. Now, we need to balance risks with development, and we need to send out very clear messages. So we will be working with the Investor Education Center as well as other institutions on a sustained basis when we'll continue to seek views from members. Dr. Tan Yue-hung. Thank you, President. Since the passage of the stablecoins bill, the market has started a lot of discussions, and there has now been a hype of the stablecoins markets. Now, many securities firms have declared starting businesses in stablecoins. their stock prices have also gone up. Now, according to the security firms, in order to get a license for the issuance of stablecoins, there are different channels. Some suggest that it's an upgrade of the trading license, and some suggest providing advisory and asset management services. So there are different tactics and different statements made. So can you explain to the public exactly what are involved for the benefit of investors, whether it's an upgrade of the existing trading license or what? Secretary, thank you, member, for the questions. Let me tell you what we have been doing. Now, we have been rolling out measures in different areas within the regulatory framework for digital assets. The Stablecoins Bill, or the Stablecoins Ordinance, regulates the issuance of stablecoins. Last year, we began imposing a regulatory regime on digital assets, or the trading of digital assets on the exchange. So we've always been drawing up legal and regulatory frameworks on the basis of activities, including the regulatory framework introduced last year relating to the trading of virtual assets. So on this occasion, for stablecoins, as mentioned in the Policy Statement 2.0, we will take into account the relevant elements, including the custody or the trading of digital assets or virtual assets. Now, we've just begun the market consultation, and as I explained, the logic of the two regulatory frameworks is consistent. That is, it's an activity-based regulatory regime. Now, as far as trading is concerned, we have security and brokerage firms which act as agents in promoting or carrying out the trading of digital assets. And likewise, we have a series of regulatory measures for them. The objective is very clear. We want to build a robust and sustainable regulatory framework to regulate the market. Now, regarding the activities, be it issuance or trading or custody of assets, we have a proper framework for these activities. Now, Dr. Tam mentioned educating the market about these regulatory measures and legislative amendments and how they will impact their market activities. Now, of course, this is our responsibility. Apart from working with regulators, we'll also communicate with different institutions. That means seminars and online talks will be held so as to provide information for the market to better understand our philosophy. Ms. Carmen Kan. Thank you, President. Now, in scrutinizing the Stablecoins Bill, I'd ask the administration to place a stronger emphasis on educating the public about the arrangement. Now, in fact, the Secretary, when answering Dr. Johnny Ng's question about diversity of products, emphasized a balance between stability and development. And in fact, Mr. Eddie Yu, when answering the media's question on the 23rd of June, also commented that the tenet is to strike a balance between risks and development, and it's not about the number of licenses to be issued. So I think the administration should be more proactive in explaining to the public the difference between real-world assets and digital assets and tokenized assets, for example. And perhaps the Hong Kong Monetary Authority should prepare infographics so that the public will have the better idea about the three conditions for the sandbox project. Secretary, Thank you, President. Ms. Khan asked a very good question. That is, apart from enacting legislation or rolling out policies, what else should the government do in managing market expectation and stepping up efforts in guiding the public? And this is also something that the chief executive has asked us to do well. That means apart from working with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, we also work with different institutions through different channels and different means, including the preparation of infographics. Like Ms. Carmen Kan just now mentioned, we strive to explain to the public the latest policies and the regulations. Now, in fact, members just now asked a number of times whether the government will allow a greater diversity of issuers, whether many licenses will be issued. The answer is no. I can tell you that we will strive to issue licenses after passage, after the bill comes into operation as quickly as possible. But the second point is that after all, it's a brand new framework. Our focus is on taking steady steps. So we also need to address the market's concerns. That is why we have repeatedly emphasized that this is a tool for financial development in media interviews and in online, offline commentary sections. We also need to address the pain points in the interfacing with the real-world economy, including flow of capital, because this is a tool that can solve real-world economy problems. I think the positioning of FRS is very clear. So to answer members' question, this is not about allowing as many stablecoin issues as possible. We are not looking at diversity. Instead, we want to build a robust system so that we have a robust regulatory and market regime for digital assets. Mrs. Regina Ip. President, now as pointed out by Dr. Tan Yue-heng, since passage of the stablecoins bill, the media has extensively reported on the matter. So there is now very high expectations. And like Dr. Tan Yue-heng said, if you have this license, your stock prices will go up as well. I, of course, welcome this new tool that will promote trading and investment. But at the same time, we need to put in proper safeguards for money laundering on terrorist financing, because after all, it's encrypted in nature. It's not overseen by banks as in the case of remittances. So what will the administration do to prevent money laundering or illegal outflow of capital? Secretary, President, Mrs. Yip asked an excellent question. This is exactly the core of the regulatory principles, and it's part of the framework. For example, if the stablecoin issuer is suspected of doing anything related to money laundering or terrorist financing, the proceeds will be frozen, any transfer will be stopped, and within the reasonable remits institute, the law enforcement agencies will ask the issuer to make a report. An investigation will be launched. So ultimately, the courts can decide whether to confiscate, restrict the relevant proceeds. So this is about the legislative framework, and it's part of the stablecoin framework. As I mentioned in the main reply, the principle is one of same activity, same risks, same regulation. In terms of the AML, CFT risks for this tool or similar tools, we can't turn a blind eye to the real risks, so we need to take a very serious stance against tackling these risks. Now, this is a tool of investment, but as I've explained on many occasions, this is not a tool that will allow you just to get rich. This is more to do with a tool of payment and to address the real pain points in the real economy so as to promote the flow of funds. Thank you.
Last question seeking an oral reply, Mr. Dennis LEUNG. President, it is learned that the yard waste recycling center Y Park mainly receives yard waste such as tree trunks that are 6 meters long or below, as well as branches, twigs, and leaves. Regarding the handling of yard waste, will the government inform this council? 1. As some members of the public have relayed that uncollected yard waste is often seen on streets and in parks, whether the government has formulated guidelines requiring the LCSD, the FEHD, and their outsourced contractors to first sort the collected yard waste and send the yard waste that can be processed by Y Park to the collection point of the Environmental Protection Department, if not of the reasons for that. 2. According to the existing procedures, how the LCSC, FEHD, and their outsourced contractors handle yard waste that cannot be processed by Y Park, of the approximate tonnage of such yard waste in each year since 2019. And 3. Given that Y Park has imposed a number of restrictions on the recovery of yard waste, and it is learned that some companies in the mainland and the United States adopt anaerobic digestion technology to convert yard waste into biogas for electricity generation, whether the government will consider adopting such technology to process yard waste so as to enhance recycling and conversion of waste into energy, if not of the reasons for that. Secretary for Environment and Ecology. President, the super typhoon Mangkhut hit Hong Kong in 2018. It caused severe damage, uprooting numerous trees, many of which were large trees that could be suitable for timber production. In 2021, the EPD set up the temporary yard waste recycling center, Y Park, in accordance with the waste blueprint for Hong Kong 2035 to collect and process yard waste generated from regular vegetation maintenance and public works projects, and to assist in treating large quantities of yard waste generated shortly after typhoons when needed. Yard waste includes grass, leaves, shrubs, twigs, and woody tree trunks. Some of them may be affected by pests or diseases. Y Park mainly collects and sorts out the high quality and suitable portion of yard waste for recycling into recyclable products of relatively higher value so as to achieve both converting waste to resources and enhancing cost effectiveness. The current Y Park is temporary in nature. In future, the government reserves land in the New Territories North New Town to develop a larger scale yard waste recycling facility to enhance yard waste handling capacity. Having consulted the FEHD and the LCSD, our consolidated reply to the question raised by Mr. Dennis LEUNG is as follows. 1. The government has established guidelines to drive various government departments, including FEHD and LCSD, adhering to the principles of reduce, reuse, and recycle, to shred and reuse yard waste as mulch for gardening on site as far as possible, while yard waste that cannot be treated or reused on site could be delivered to suitable recycling facilities for treatment. The EPD has also continuously liaised with government departments, providing relevant guidelines to promote the proper sorting of recyclable yard waste at source and its delivery to Y Park for processing. In 2024, the quantity of yard waste disposed of at landfills was about 230 tons per day, accounting for about 2% of the MSW municipal solid waste disposal of at landfills. 2. Not all yard waste is suitable for delivering to Y Park for processing. According to prevailing handling procedures, when the FEHD, LCSD, and their contractors encounter yard waste unsuitable for recycling, such as yard waste infected by bacteria, infested with pests, or containing large amount of impurities, while providing street cleansing or park management services, such yard waste will be sent directly or via refuse transfer stations to landfills for disposal. From 2019 to April 2025, the LCSD transported an average of about 7 tons of yard waste unsuitable for recycling to landfills per day, while the FEHD does not maintain relevant data. 3. The government is developing two main types of waste-to-energy facilities currently. The first type of facilities is the Organic Resources Recovery Center, OPOC, adopting anaerobic digestion technology to process food waste. The second type of facilities adopts modern incineration technology to treat waste, such as TPOC, which incinerates sludge to generate electricity, and IPOC 1, that is currently under construction, which will incinerate MSW to generate electricity. The OPOCs are designed to treat food waste, which contains proteins, sugars, fats, and high water content. These substances decompose more easily during the anaerobic digestion process and produce more biogas, resulting in a higher energy conversion efficiency. Under feasible technical conditions, we also make the best use of the existing waste management facilities to test out treatment of other waste. For instance, while OPOC 2 is mainly for treating food waste, we conducted trials for treating pig waste since its commissioning in March 2024. Following successful trials, we have fully replaced the previous practice of disposing of food waste at landfills with anaerobic digestion technology since July 2024. Which significantly reduced the potential odor issues at landfills. However, there are significant differences between yard waste and food waste. It requires different treatment methods. Yard waste comprises woody waste and non-woody waste. Tree trunks and branches, they are woody waste. They are high in wood fiber content and low in moisture content, so they are not easily decomposed by anaerobic digestion. If treating the yard waste by co-digestion by anaerobic digestion technology in OPOCs, it would not only occupy substantial space in the digestion tanks, it would also significantly reduce food waste processing capacity and efficiency. In addition, as woody waste is hard and bulky, it is more difficult to be crushed into pieces as compared with food waste, such that additional energy and water will be required to turn the woody waste into slurry for further treatment. Such adaptation potentially will incur a substantial amount of cost and result in a low energy efficiency. According to the understanding of the EPD, there are few examples of utilizing anaerobic digestion to process woody waste in the mainland or overseas. Even for such cases, they mainly involve processing small amounts of non-woody yard waste such as grass and leaves. Non-woody garden waste such as grass and leaves can be processed through anaerobic digestion technically, but the process would be less efficient than treating food waste. Considering such waste contains a certain calorific value and is often mixed with other MSW during collection, treating yard waste by incineration can reduce the need for additional space processing and costs associated with sorting such waste. The government is working full steam on developing two modern large-scale incineration facilities, namely IPOC 1 and IPOC 2. These facilities will handle up to 9,000 tons of MSW per day in total in the future, converting waste into electricity. IPOC 1 is expected to commence operation by the end of this year and can assist in handling yard waste. Mr. Dennis LEUNG. Thank you, President. Right now, the citizens of Hong Kong care much about recycling and going green. We have seen less in the amount of MSW and we have seen more waste being recycled. According to the reply, we have seen yard waste being generated after typhoons and some maintenance work, and it seems the figures are not being collected systematically, how the waste is dealt with. I do understand the government is promulgating guidelines, but I have received feedback from citizens. Many of such yard waste is just left on the streets, and some of them may be infested with pests or infected by bacteria. So it is not good that we are leaving it on the streets anyway. So is there any arrangement for prompt dealings and removal of such yard waste on the streets? Thank you. Secretary. We have the Y Park to handle yard waste, but they are dealing with yard waste that can be recycled into recyclable products of relatively higher values, mainly. And for branches and leaves that the LCSD and FEHD collected on the streets, often they are mixed with other waste. The Y Park is not equipped to deal with such waste, which is why mostly such yard waste will be disposed of in landfills. The member relayed feedback from citizens that yard waste on the streets are often left on the street for a longer period of time. What we have done is we have asked our frontline officers for the waste that they have collected on the streets, including yard waste. They should be handled as soon as possible, and they should be handled on that very same day. We will ask our health inspectors on the front line to pay attention to the situation to make sure there's prompt collection of such waste on the streets. Thank you. Mrs. Regina Ip. Mr. Dennis Leung asked about technology for converting waste into energy. I want to ask, in general, for citizens, if they have observed yard waste on the streets, they don't know whom to report it to. I actually saw there was yard waste on a road. I thought it was the highways department that was supposed to be responsible for that, but in the end it was the lands department. So it seems that the division of work can be unclear. So when there are trees that collapse and that has caused some injuries, we don't even know whom to report it to. Can the government promulgate some guidelines on the reporting? Thank you. Secretary, we have issued guidelines to various government departments asking them to sort the yard waste they have collected. For the larger chunks of wood, they can be sent to Y Park. The smaller non-woody yard waste or the yard waste mixed with other waste, they should be sent to the landfills. As said in the main reply, in future we will incinerate such waste because it should generate electricity. Because in other generation of electricity, say with wind-powered electricity generation or coal-powered electricity generation, they will still produce emissions. Incinerating such waste to produce biogas for electricity generation will be greener. We do understand the division of work in the government can be confusing to the public. My suggestion is citizens should call 1823 when they observed any matter to report on. Thank you. Ms. Judy CHAN. I appreciate the work of the Y Park. I have led some visits myself. I do note that yard waste produced after typhoons were often recycled to some really beautiful products, and for each person that has visited Y Park, they would receive a packet of wood chips as a souvenir. But I think there is limited awareness about the Y Park. So why not have us enhance awareness by, say, having the souvenirs or relevant products available at green communities? For example, thank you, Secretary, we will step up publicity. And the target group for publicity would be those who would be interested in the products of Y Park, such as you mentioned, we have some groups who are interested in art or furniture. We have asked some furniture companies to come to the Y Park to select wood for their productions. We do want to expand the scope of such publicity, which is why we have been promoting to farmers the work of Y Park. Because the products, the yard waste dealt with by the Y Park may be used in farming. So we have been promoting to farmers the work of Y Park, and they would want large quantities too, which is ideal. So we have been promoting to different target groups of the Y Park, the work of Y Park, but we do note the feedback of the member. We can go through perhaps in future greener communities or the app to promote the work of Y Park, so that if they want to acquire products of the Y Park, they can exchange them with points of green dollars. Thank you. Mr. Kwok Wai Kang. We have talked about how when there is no prompt handling of yard waste, there are problems. I want to seek a reply from the administration. In Tai O, near the mangrove forest, we have a beautiful landscape, but we have received feedback from the public and the rural committee concerned that there is improper management and there is often yard waste piled up. So how can we make the environment suitable for residents and visitors alike? Well, your question is not relevant to this oral question at all. Any response from the secretary? On the mangrove forest, I'm not sure if there is such issue. I do not have such information on hand. Let me talk to my colleagues and we can provide the relevant information to the member after the meeting. Dr. Kennedy Wong. We do note such yard waste would cover, say, chunks of wood and branches. The recycling industry in Hong Kong is not big, but we are now part of the Greater Bay Area. I wouldn't consider such to be waste because these chunks of wood or branches are very valuable as raw materials in the recycling industry in the mainland. Can we transport such to the mainland? We have seen cottons being produced from recycled materials like such elsewhere. So can we work with the GBA mainland cities to transport these raw materials to the mainland for processing? Thank you. Secretary, on different occasions, I talked about how we should enhance cooperation with the Bay Area cities to have a zero waste Bay Area. It is exactly as the member said, the industry in Hong Kong is not big, the recycling industry. So the costs are quite high if we are to recycle everything locally, which is why we are looking to work with other cities of the GBA, because that should create synergy and help us achieve cost effectiveness. We are exploring different options. In January this year, we have been working with the relevant Guangdong Provincial Authority. We have a working group, and we have set up specifically a smaller group for Zero Waste Bay Area to look at different recycling projects and make a priority of the different projects to be undertaken. And of course, we don't want to treat the trunks of wood as waste. We do want to see them as raw materials. So this is our vision as well. For the larger chunks of wood, they can be used as boards, they can be used for sculptures. The scale of operations of such is not large in Hong Kong, so we have been exploring the use of this mechanism to deal with relevant materials. We also have been exploring some options if it is costly to process in Hong Kong of such materials to have other cities deal with this. Thank you, Ms. Nixon Lam. I think it's all about publicity. If you work with schools, the Education Bureau, the HYAB, to enhance awareness of youth on recycling, I think the pots can go to the schools and communities so that we can better use such materials. Have you any plans to take this direction in publicity? You can perhaps also have community cooperation to have the materials sent to different parts of the community for publicity. Have you considered different options of making use of such materials? Secretary, we have close cooperation with schools on recycling. We have a particular scheme that has the participation of 500 schools on enhancing awareness on recycling. So we have been doing work in publicity and education. We have also been trying to enhance cooperation with schools to recycle more things at schools. So this is the cooperation we have with schools. But with recycling at schools, we need to work that in the long term. It's not just about collecting small amounts of waste. But that would go back to the issue of having a sustainable market for that. So it is as Dr. Kennedy Wong said, we should expand the boundaries of recycling so that we can have more ends for the yacht waste. Thank you.
Government Bill, first reading. Betting Duty Amendment Bill 2025.